save our country. That's it. We're in the home stretch. It's right now. So I think she was here last night in Michigan. So we're trying to keep track with each other. So I'm hopeful, since the last time I saw her was a week ago, which was my birthday. Don't sing. Do not sing. No. But I'm flying to Philadelphia right after this because it's her birthday today. She went to Atlanta, and hopefully we're going to coincide in Philadelphia so we can spend a little quality time. But I know on that quality time, you know what we're going to be talking about? You. We're just going to be talking about what else we need to do over these next 15 days to bring this home and to win this election. But you in this community, you actually could make the difference of winning this entire election. Early voting has already started here. So I want to see those buttons. I see a few of them that you've already voted. Get it done now. Just get it done so you can spend the rest of this time out there, knocking on doors, talking to folks, just spreading out in this community right here. Every single vote right here counts. So you are lucky. You can dictate what our future looks like. Do you want a future of opportunity, a future of freedom, a future of moving forward? Then let's just get it done. Let's just get it done, because the alternative universe is so stark. It's so stark. It's a country and a world that nobody even really understands how bad it will be. And people need to kind of wake up right now and understand what these stakes are. I know you all know. So when you're out there these next 15, 16 days, you're the ones who have to go out there and get your friends and neighbors to just cut through this Trumpian fog of disinformation and gaslighting and misinformation. Because that's all they have right now. Because all the caricatures, she's blown those all out of the water. All the lies they've been telling about her on Fox News all these years. Did you see her with Brett Barry the other night? Yeah, Brett's a tough dude. And she went toe-to-toe, but she showed that audience that she's not going to take any BS. She's not going to take their lies and gaslighting. Called it out, and in fact, Brett had to apologize for showing an incomplete video. You know what the rest of that video was? Donald Trump talking about you, fellow citizens of the United States, as the quote-unquote enemy of the people. So when you cut through all this fog and listen to what he's actually talking about, besides Arnold Palmer's... that was supposed to be his closing argument yesterday. How'd that go? And then because Mark Cuban is so awesome, unlike his buddy Elon Musk, who's just in it for himself and his fellow billionaires, and honestly just taking advantage of Trump. But we got Mark. You're going to hear from Mark. Call out Mark. Look at this dude. He looks like he can play right now. Come on. So Mark is going to talk more about small business, and we've had such a great time meeting all the entrepreneurs here. Kamala knows business. I myself I'm a business lawyer for 30 years, so I'd have to explain to her what I do for a living. And for 6 or 7 of those years, I had my own small firm. So I understand, and I've talked to her, and I've met entrepreneurs all over the country as second gentleman, getting to travel around in the last 13 weeks of this campaign. I know what those sleepless nights are like. I know what it's like to, track the money coming in and the money coming out, and caring about your clients, caring about your employees, and how are we going to make it through this next month. I get that. She certainly understands that, coming with her middle-class background that she's talked a lot about with her single-parent mother just trying to raise her and her sister. She understands. And that's why this economic plan works for all of us, not just for Elon Musk, which is what Donald Trump's plan, which is just more tax cuts for billionaires. And Mark will tell you who don't need it and don't want it. More tax cuts for the biggest corporations who don't need it, which has driven our deficit up into the almost $9 trillion. And what has she got? A real plan that works for all of you, all of us, an opportunity economy. Helping you start a small business. Helping you start a small business, helping you start a family. And one of the things I've heard from the road all the time is we need more affordable housing. So guess what? This plan calls for more affordable housing. And one that I like, for me, I'm in the sandwich generation, where I've got parents in their late 80s, and I've got 25-year-old, 30-year-old, like I'm right in the middle of all this stuff. So this Medicare plan she has for seniors to help them at home, this is practical stuff. The stuff that she comes up with and that she implements her entire career is real solutions for real problems. Somebody who's pragmatic, not ideological. By the way, she's a capitalist, which she's pro-growth, she's pro-innovation, but she also cares about workers. Like, all these things can be true at the same time, and that's what's so great about her. And him, I mean, again, Mark, for him to say you're a loser, that pisses me off. You're awesome. Yeah, a weak, empathetic bully and a non-athlete. Okay, man, look at this guy. So, it sounds like a lot of projection from the former president. All those things might apply to him. Okay. So, she's going to be great on the economy. Mark's going to talk more about that. But this guy, he was not a good businessman. This is all a reality TV illusion. So he's pretending he was that guy on The Apprentice. And that's just not him. His real business record was terrible. Bankruptcy after bankruptcy, failed businesses, inherited millions of dollars from his father, blew it all many, many times over. And he was really on the skids when that show came along. And you can read about it. There's articles about how this saved him, and he got to reinvent himself through a lie that he was a good business person. He was good on TV. People fell for that. And he rode that right to the presidency. So he really didn't know what he was doing. And you could see that while he was president. So, again, the tax cuts, which, sent us into debt. One of his other biggest accomplishments was losing 200,000 manufacturing jobs. He's the first president since Herbert Hoover. You got to go all the way back to the Depression era to leave office with fewer jobs than when he started. So then you add in when we really needed leadership, when we really needed a functioning, competent government, COVID hit. COVID hit, and hundreds of thousands of people died because of their lies, gaslighting, incompetence, and not having a good team around to deal with that. And I'm still, my first year as second gentleman, I spent most of that time traveling the country, begging people to get vaccinated, begging people to save their own lives. And there was so much hesitancy to take the vaccination because of the lies that were told by Trump and their administration. That happened. That was on his watch. People need to remember that. That happened. And then when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won right here in Michigan, he refused to accept it. And that led to an insurrection on January 6th. That happened, folks. People need to be reminded of that. That happened, and he's still lying about it. This big lie about the 2020 election is literally like a poison coursing through the veins of our democracy. And it's just, you see that J.D. Vance, who knows better. J.D. Vance has been on the record many times clearly stating that Joe Biden won that election. Yet, when our great soon-to-be vice president, Governor Walz, looked him right in the eye, and he said, Tim. Well, no, he said J.D. It's just one sip of beer. No. He said, J.D., did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? And what did J.D. say? Well, I want to move forward. I don't want to talk about that. And then into the New York Times, J.D. came right out and said, oh, Donald Trump, won the 2020 election. This is how bad this is and damaging to our democracy. And then you look at him now, Trump. He's falling apart physically, falling apart mentally, And you just see it. It's just right. So he's, he's a much worse version of what he was before. And it's not like it's going to get any better. And then you want J.D. Vance next in line, who's a true extremist. He's the one who said no abortion ever, even for health of the mother, even for rape or for incest. This is all in Project 2025, which J.D. and Donald say, oh, we don't know what that is. Their fingerprints are all over it. All these things that they're talking about are in Project 2025. And the first kind of salvo to that is the Dobbs decision. Because Donald Trump ran on a platform of overturning Roe v. Wade. They're trying to backtrack from that right now. And he has the nerve to say that he is, your protector women. He's the father of IVF. Doesn't that piss you off to hear that? That's what's called gaslighting. Trying to get you not to see what is right in front of your own eyes. So this could be more of the same. Weaponizing the Department of Justice. Turning the United States military against United States citizens that just happen to not agree. To our press. Threatening the press if they tell the truth. This is what's already happening right now and already sowing the seeds about the 2024 election. Not to mention, I'm Jewish, blaming the Jews if they lose. This is what's happening. So this is what people need to wake up to right now in these next 15 or 16 days. Or we're not going to have a country that any of you recognize anymore. So we got Kamala Harris, who stepped up when Joe Biden decided not to continue his campaign. Nobody handed her this nomination. She stepped up when we needed a leader. And every single moment where she's had to rise above with unrealistic, outrageous expectations, and each and every time she has shattered those expectations. And she's still doing it, and she's going to continue to do it for these next 15 days after we celebrate her birthday. To expose what Trump and Vance are trying to do. They're just leaving this cloud of fog so everyone's confused. So it's our job to push that fog away so people can see the true contrast. Somebody who is unfit for any job, let alone President of the United States, and my wife, Kamala Harris, who has spent her entire career thinking about you, thinking about all of us, who has been a frontline prosecutor putting the worst of the worst criminals and villains away, as an elected district attorney, as an elected attorney general, as an elected United States senator, and as an elected vice president. She's ready to be president. When people say, oh, I need to know more about Kamala Harris, what more do you need to know? She is ready to be president day one. She's also ready to be commander-in-chief day one of the most lethal fighting force in the world. She's been vice president in that Situation Room for these 4 years, and she does not need to train to be a world leader because she already is a world leader. To our Republican friends out there, time to pick country over party. It is not enough to sit on the sidelines and hope Donald Trump just goes away. It is not enough to say you are not supporting Donald Trump. You need to do what Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and so many others are doing, and get out there and actively support Kamala Harris. Pick your country over party. So, I'm going to turn it over to Mark. I'm fired up. You can see that. I can't waste any more time. We got to get people to see this. So you get out there, do everything you can to convince everyone in this community to do the right thing, save our country, and vote for my wife, Kamala Harris. I want to listen to Mark so much, but he's been so amazing on this campaign. He is so incredible. I'm so glad we have him. So I am going to get on that plane and hopefully, if everything works out, meet my wife in Philadelphia, where we will have a tiny amount of couple time to celebrate her birthday. So thank you, and please elect Kamala Harris. And now I am going to introduce Mark Cuban.
The second gentleman, ladies and gentlemen. Get a little organized here. That's a hard act to follow. Yeah, I can handle it. So, thank you all for having me here. Do we have any entrepreneurs? Right there. Business people, own your own company? Yeah. That's great. Because, anybody here ever seen Shark Tank? I'm not Mr. Wonderful. I'm Mr. Super Wonderful. Yeah, he's a little bit confused about life, but that's okay. We won't get mad at him. So, let me tell you a little bit about myself. You probably know me a little bit from Shark Tank. You know me a little bit from the Dallas Mavericks. Hey, by the way, for Pistons fans, you're all going to love Timmy Hardaway. He's going to be really, really, really good. Yeah, well, there you go. So, in any event, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My dad did upholstery on cars. My mom did odd jobs. Neither one ever went to college. And my dad used to bring me to where he went to work. And he would have me sweep the floors and just do whatever and make a few bucks. And I was like, Dad, do you want me to ever work here? He was like, no. No. My dad would get up to go to work at 6:30, be at work at 7, get back at 6, 5 days a week, Saturday, half a day. I said, no, I don't want you to work here. I want you to be more and do more, to do for yourself. And he would get me to ask a really simple question. And I know those of you who are entrepreneurs, all of us ask because we're Americans. We ask ourselves, why not me? Why can't I be the one who starts a business and turns it into something more? Why can't I be the one who has a dream and it comes true? Why not me? And all of you who are business owners have done that before, haven't you? Because that's the thing about this country. All of us, the thing that makes this country different than every other country in the world. You can go anywhere in the world and they'll tell you about the American dream. That's why people want to come here to live. Because they know the American dream is alive and well. We've all had that feeling, right? You have an idea. And it's like, oh, you get a little feeling right there. Remember that? Then you go to your friend. What do you think? He's like, oh, that's a good idea. Sound familiar? And then you go to Google. And you... Nobody's doing it. You're like, let's go. But then 99% of people stop. They just stop and they don't go forward. But the good news is there are 33 million companies, small businesses in this country. 33 million that are small. You know how many businesses are big, 500 more employees? 0.05% of that 33 million. So it's the people in this room that are changing the country. This people in this room who are driving the economy. There is a kid in Grand Rapids right now, probably somewhere down the street, that's going through the same thing. They're having that idea. And they're thinking, oh, that's a great idea. And I love that all of you are here right now because it's part of what Kamala Harris is about. She wants every kid in America, she wants adults, everybody to ask themselves, why not me? Because when that kid's sitting there, particularly the way things have been in the past, when we were under Donald Trump before and they weren't certain about their future, they weren't certain whether people even respected them. You want a president, when that kid has that dream, when that adult has that dream, and they ask, why not me? You want a president who can say, like Kamala Harris will say, yes, you can do it. Yes, you can do it. Because that's what Kamala Harris is about. Kamala Harris is about being a president who puts everybody here in a position to succeed and to even make more money. You know, let me go forward on my story some. So I went from Pittsburgh to Indiana to go to college. Yeah. There you go. Hoosiers, so one time, there we go. Anyways, so I went from Indiana, and then I moved down to Dallas. And when I got to Dallas, I didn't have a job. I had a Fiat that had a hole in the floorboard, and every 60 miles I had to put oil in. And I found some of my buddies who had asked me to come down, and they're like, come on, move in with us. Well, they had a 3-bedroom apartment, and I was the 6th guy in. And so I was the one who had to sleep on the floor. I was the one who got a job at night working as a bartender in the bar back, and that's how I got started. But I know what it's like to eat mustard and ketchup sandwiches. And then after my job as a bartender, I got a job working at a software store. I'm thinking, okay, I got a regular job at a software store. 9 months in, remember, I'm living in this dome with 5 roommates. Let me just tell you, 23, 24-year-old guys, 6 in one 3-bedroom apartment. It was not pleasant. It smelled a lot. But anyways, so I'm sleeping on the floor. Finally, one day at this job is at a software store called Your Business Software. And I go to my boss, and I'm like, Michael, that was his name. I'm like, my job is to sweep the floor, wipe down the windows, open the door to make sure retail customers came in. And I'd be there for him. I'm like, Michael, I got this deal I'm going to close. It's a $15,000 sale. My commission was $1,500. That meant I can move out, we call it the hellhole. I can move out of the hellhole and get my own apartment. So I went to Michael and I said, I got someone to cover with me for me. I'm going to go pick up this check. And I'm going to come back and answer. He goes, no, I need you to open the store. I'm like, I got it covered, Michael. He said, no. Like, I made the executive decision thinking, if I go out and bring back a $15,000 check, he's going to be like, okay, I was wrong. I bring it back, he fires me. Like that. So here I am, sleeping on the floor, mustard and ketchup sandwiches, gained 20 pounds because I would take $5 to the local pub where they had all the fried mushrooms, and like they would see me coming and go, oh no, Anyway, so I was stuck. But fortunately, I was able to find one business, a company called Architectural Lighting. And I said to them, look, I'm broke. I got nothing. Eating mustard and ketchup sandwiches. If you front me this $500 for the software I know you want, if it doesn't work, I'm going to come here and wash your car, sweep your floor, walk your dog, I don't care. Fortunately, it worked. And I was able to turn that into a company called Micro Solutions that I built up to 80 people, went 7 years without a vacation. 7 years without a vacation. Because I know what it's like to grind. I know what it is to be an entrepreneur and have your back against the wall. But then I was able to sell it. $6 million, which is a lot of money. But you know what I'm most proud of? $1 million of that went to the employees. And then I went and turned that into another company. So right around 1995, one of my buddies from Indiana, the Hoosiers, I do, comes up and says, there's this new thing called the internet. There's got to be a way we can listen to Indiana basketball down in Dallas. I'm like, cool, let me think about that. And so literally we started a company called AudioNet, and that was the very first streaming company. And so we built that up, took it public. It was the biggest IPO in the history of the stock market, and I sold it for a lot of money. But the best part about that is we had 330 employees when we sold it. 300 of them became millionaires. And then just fast forward, when I sold part of the Mavs, we paid out almost $50 million in bonuses to fewer than 400 employees. So the point being there, business can do good. Business can do well. But not everybody thinks like that. I know the power of broke. You all know the power of broke when your back's against the wall. You think Donald Trump knows the power of broke? You think Donald Trump ever slept on the floor? You think Donald Trump ever ate mustard and ketchup sandwiches? Could you imagine? Please, can I have some grape poupon with my mustard and ketchup? That's not going to happen. In a Trump world, it just doesn't work like that. He just doesn't understand business. In a Kamala Harris world, she does. Like Doug was saying, she's been there. She's been through the struggle. She knows what the power of broke is. She knows that the biggest businesses will start with the smallest grain. Just one individual right here in Grand Rapids can turn it around. When they've asked themselves, why not me? They can turn it around and turn it into something. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he does things like tariffs. Where he wants, look, tariffs can be strategic, okay, at times, but across the board tariffs, that's just dumb. And you know why it's really dumb? People think, he talks about, well, we're going to bring manufacturing back from overseas here. Let me ask you all a question. How many of you own an overseas manufacturing plant? No factories in some country somewhere? No. It doesn't help small businesses. And remember, small businesses are 99.5% of all businesses. Small businesses create more than 55% of new jobs. Do small businesses matter? Small businesses are everything. That's where the growth comes from, and Kamala understands that. And I'm going to tell you why tariffs are really, really bad for small business. People don't realize that some of the most popular products, some of the things we buy all the time on a daily basis, are made in China. It's just the way it is. It's cheaper. I mean, the reality is, we like to think we like to pay up for American products, but we don't. You guys know that. You know, you're going to buy what's most cost effective for your family. Donald Trump doesn't know that. So when he just starts talking about a 60% tariff on all things from China, your books are going up for school. Sporting goods, products, bats, balls, all the things you want to get for your kids, going up in price. Clothes, going up in price. Everything's going up in price. And when those things go up for the people, anybody here import goods at all? Any retailers here? No? Okay. Well, I'll still use this example. When those products go up in price, that means people sell less. The retailers sell less. But it's even worse than that. Because the things I just mentioned, those are the things you're looking at buying for your kids and your family for Christmas. So if prices go up because he does imports, he puts a 60% tariff on imports from China, what happens? You're not able to buy as much for your family for Christmas. Donald Trump is the Grinch that's trying to steal your Christmas. Am I wrong? No. And when those prices go up and you can't buy all those presents, not only are you heartbroken, but think about retail stores. The knick-knack store down the street that's been there forever, the clothing store was like, how do you guys stay in business? Oh, they got great clothes that they pick out. Those companies get it even worse. You know what they say, where that stuff goes downstream, right? It goes right on them. He's trying to put them out of business, and he doesn't even know. That's the worst possible part. You've got to know about these things. He just doesn't care. The distributors, the retailers, he just doesn't care. He'll jack up those prices and not care less. But then there's healthcare. Those of you with businesses, what's it like dealing with healthcare? It's scary as hell, isn't it? Because it's almost impossible for a small business to provide all the healthcare you want to compete with bigger businesses. And then, if they use the ACA, which is a great program, they have a higher deductible. And so the prices, when you see these pharmaceutical companies, and it's not even the manufacturers as much as the middlemen, jack up the price, it's terrifying, isn't it? Because when someone in your company gets sick, who worries just as much as the person who got sick? You. It's your business. These are your employees that work for you. And so it's terrifying to know that not only can you not help them, they can't help themselves, and they can't show up for work. And when they can't show up to work, who's responsible? You. Right? It's hard enough to run a business, let alone being terrified about your healthcare costs. Kamala Harris understands that. You've heard her talk about getting rid of the pharmacy middlemen. They're called pharmacy benefit managers. And when you get rid of the pharmacy benefit managers, the big ones, the not transparent ones that jack up prices, when you get rid of them, your drug costs are going to go down 20 or 30%. So when people talk about inflation, and Donald Trump says, drill, baby, drill, let me just tell you how stupid that is. Right? Because if everybody drills, the price goes down. If the price goes down, do people want to keep on drilling? No. They stop, right? It just doesn't make any economic sense. But, yeah, our costs have gone up 19-20% over the last 4 years. That's a fact. This drilling's not going to change that. But if your healthcare costs, that you'll be starting with your medications for you and your employees and your family, go down 20-30% or more, will that more make up for it? Yeah. Yes. When your healthcare costs go down because we're instituting new programs, will that make up for it? Yeah. Yes. That's the point. So when we talk about inflation, it is what it is, right? It's unfortunate, it was painful, but there's a way to compensate for it. And what Kamala Harris is doing to eliminate the middlemen in pharmacy and healthcare, that's going to push your costs down. And as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, Not only is that helping you, it's helping all your employees. And when it helps all your employees, that helps the business. When it helps the business, that helps the community. When it helps the community, that helps everyone. So I want to open up time for questions, but I want you to know this. Kamala Harris understands the power of work. Kamala Harris understands when you're looking in your kid's eyes, and just like my dad looked at me. My dad, you literally lost an eye trying to change someone's upholstery in their car, and told me that he didn't want me to have the same life he did. And I've got to the point of why not me? Kamala Harris wants you to look in the eyes of your children like my dad to me, and say to them, I want you to say, why not me? And there is a kid here in Grand Rapids who's thinking to themselves, why not me? And Kamala Harris is here to encourage them. I had more beer than Doug, by the way. Kamala Harris is here to encourage you, your family, this country, to make sure that the American dream happens for all of you. Now, before I go to question, I have a favor to ask. It's not a big favor. For those of you who own businesses, would you like to make more money? Yes. Would you like help growing your business? Yes. Would you like community development funds to increase so there would be more? Yes. Well, then you're going to have to spend these next 16 days going out and recruiting people to vote. Yes. You can already vote now. So literally, one of the most important things you can do to make money as an entrepreneur, as a capitalist, and you heard Doug say, Kamala is a capitalist. And let me just tell you, Kamala, I sat and talked to her the other day. She goes, I love Shark Tank. And she started telling me about deals. You know, I watch Shark Tank all the time, even the repeats. And I'm like, oh, I like you even more now. But Kamala Harris understands what it takes to help you grow your business, and she's putting in those programs. But if she doesn't win, we go back. She will win, right? But it's going to take we can't take that for granted. We can't take it for granted. We want a landslide, but it's going to take everybody going out there. So literally, the most important thing you can do, don't even think about politics. Don't even think of it as any way other than your business, your pocketbook, your future. Is it worth going out there and talking to your friends and saying, come on in, I'm going to walk you to the ballot. I'm going to help you send in your mail ballot. Is it worth it? Yeah. 16 days. Can you spend 16 days spending a little bit of time? I already know as entrepreneurs, you're already grinders. If you live in Grand Rapids and you have a company, you're a grinder. I need you to keep on grinding, to go out there and take people to the polls. Elon Musk must have paid them to go to the polls. We don't need to do that because we know people believe. So I need you to do all of that. Will you go out? Questions for anybody who has any business question, anything, and I'll let you guys pass around the mics, and we'll just go. Oh, you guys got something to pass around the mics.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
My name is Cheryl Fisher. Mark here just said, why me? Why not me? Here. Read that. That will eliminate all industrial emissions into our environment. Why not me.
Exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be the biggest industry in the globe.
I got it.
Right here. First, I do want to say thank you because you do so much, and I can sit here and talk all day about the ways that you've influenced my life, and you don't have to be running around doing all this right now. So thank you. You seem so. I have a business, so I'm not going to ask a business question. You seen so much of the world. Like, why do you think there's so many people that still want to vote for Trump?
So I can give a lot of different answers, but he's been doing this for 10 years. He's been in the public eye for 50 years. And some people just get caught up in that. And then you add to that social media, even 10 years ago, before he ran the first time, you couldn't go to social media and find a lot of other people who would agree with someone like him. But now you can go on social media and find somebody who agrees with you. And when you find somebody, if you're a little bit out there, maybe not mainstream in your feelings, you can find people that feel that way. And I think that just reinforces it and reinforces it. And social media reinforces that. And so I think that's where he's gotten where he's gotten. But let me just add. Let me tell you about a woman, a very strong woman, who when she first started 13 weeks ago, had negative favorability ratings. People didn't even know. Donald Trump even used to say, "What's her name?" People didn't know who she was. And so you have this guy who's been a celebrity forever, who was the president, who's been campaigning ever since he got his ass kicked as president, right? And then this woman, Kamala Harris, comes in and in 13 weeks catches up. All the reason why we have to get out.
So I saw you on Bill Maher on Friday.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. So my question surrounds kind of your business experience. When Kamala wins, what would be the tangible recommendation that you give to her on day one?
That's a great question, and I will help her as much as I can. I'm not looking for a job. I'm not looking to be in the cabinet or anything like that, but I'll advise her just like I've done for people in the past. I think we have to deal with the deficit, and I think I've talked to her about it, and if you heard her Pittsburgh speech, she talked about it took only 1 year to build the Empire State Building, and now it will take who knows how long. And she talked about using technology to reduce the friction and reduce the permitting time. That's the first step, because all that friction is expensive. All that permitting and getting approvals is expensive. And so when you cut that back, that's a first step towards reducing the deficit. Then I talked to her about programs. Look, she's smart. When she was the Attorney General, there were programs she cut. And she understands there are some programs, look, it's just the nature of reality. Not all programs work. And she knows that. She could tell me where she would cut. I didn't ask, but she understands that that's the case. And so talking about the deficit and it being important, because, we all hear stories about the deficits. And let me just tell you, the other guy has no idea either. He keeps on saying, he's like Oprah these days. You get a tax cut. You get a tax cut. You get, I'll give you this. I'll give you that. He has no clue about cutting the deficit. He says Elon Musk is going to cut the deficit, Mr. Efficiency. Look, Elon's one of the best entrepreneurs ever, and you can't take that away from him. But he's also the world's biggest troll. And how he is going to overcome all the conflicts of interest, because you can't run the Department of Efficiency and be SpaceX and Tesla and Starlink and all these other things. That's a conflict of interest. So it'll be well, he'll never get the chance, fortunately. But Kamala understands that the deficit isn't positive, and there are ways to do it. She understands the technological side. When Donald Trump talks about AI, Kamala talks about AI and says, okay, we can improve efficiency. We want to improve, and enhance technology because that enhances our competitiveness globally. And when AI companies grow, that means more exports and more business for everybody. Donald says, DAI. What the hell is DAI? And then he talks about uses more electricity. Who cares? It's an issue, don't get me wrong, but that's not what AI is all about. So Kamala gets technology, she understands the impact on the economy, she understands the impact on growth, she understands how to use it to reduce the deficit, and she knows not all programs are perfect.
Beautiful.
You're welcome. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hello. My name is Adrienne Johnson, and I've been doing web and graphic design work as an entrepreneur since 2016 as Rebellious Creatives, and I focus on small businesses and startups. So my question is keeping a business like that afloat, because I'm a one-woman show. How do you keep finances afloat when it comes to keeping programs and everything else?
Look, I've done web development. That first company I told you about, the systems integration, I wrote software, and it was just me to start. And it takes time to build a customer base. And that's the hard part. You just have to keep on doing a great job for your customers and understanding that when you're in the community and you're helping them grow, because that's what web design does, right? That's what digital marketing does. You can help people grow. It's not going to be easy. There are no shortcuts. I told you, I went 7 years without a vacation. I lived for too long sleeping on the floor with my one towel that I stole from Motel 6. Sorry, Motel 6. You can bill me, I got it. But you get my point. I wish I could tell you, look, there are tools that Kamala's coming out with to help you raise funding. The Community Development Fund, she's a big proponent of, and she'll grow those. But the honest answer is you have to grow a little bit more. And the way to grow a one-person shop is to build up enough, like what I did. You build up enough business where you need a second person. And it pays for that second person. And then you get that second person, and then you get the third. And then once you start rolling, the referrals start coming in. So it's a grind, but I know you can do it. Good luck.
Over in front of you.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Right here. Sorry. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. I have a question actually about small businesses. I'm trying to set up an e-commerce business, and what you mentioned about China is actually so true. It is scary, the tariffs, and he just doesn't know what that actually means in the bottom line.
What kind of e-commerce business are you trying to set up?
Retail. Retail e-commerce. Well, right now I have Proud Chavez catlady.com, but this is actually for me to learn in order to have a more permanent business. But my question is a lot of the products, especially in e-commerce, come from China. Yep. And I actually firmly believe that China will be bankrupt maybe by 2030, but that's another story. So I would love to buy more products here made in the USA, but it's impossible as a small business.
It's tough, yeah.
So what do you recommend for small businesses who do want to support other small businesses in the U.S., but I mean, it's just really hard.
It's
very
a great question.
expensive.
Yeah. I literally invested in a company called Cultivate.us, and it's kind of like a made-in-America version of Honey, so that you can go there, download it as an add-on to your browser, and it helps you find made-in-America companies, but they're more expensive. And you've got to make that choice. And so if you're going to be in retail, particularly with Temu and Shine and all that, that makes it even more difficult. But you've got to find an angle that makes you unique. You look on Etsy and to a lesser extent eBay, where people just use their creativity. And so if you have a way to define what makes your site different and differentiated, then that's where you start. Because then people can say, oh, I can get this here. And then you grow it up some, and then you bring it on Shark Tank.
Thank you for all that you have done.
Thank you.
My question is, what will it take and how long will it take to introduce high-speed rail in America?
That I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you. I don't know. I have no clue. At least I'm honest about it. How long will it take for high-speed rail to come to America? I know there's been conversations everywhere, but it's something I've avoided because it's not my area of expertise.
My name is Isaac James. I own a lawn business that I've owned for 2 years. I'm 14 years old. My question is, how do you manage school and business at the same time?
Well, I'm a junior in high school, and let me tell you, it's hard. When I had my business, even just out of college, it's hard to manage your time and it's hard to balance. But the good news is there's weekends, and that's what you have to take advantage of. And I'll say this to all businesses, because this is a lesson I think that I learned the hard way. Sometimes we like to chase revenue. We think like if we get up to 100,000 in revenue or $1 million in revenue, that's more important. It's not. What's most important, Isaac, is how much money you put in your pocket. The cash you have in the bank. And so if you find yourself with too many people trying to buy your service, trying to get the launch, raise your price. Seriously, because what's the worst, if you're able to raise your price, now you're making more money. And I think sometimes when you have a small business, it's terrifying to try to raise your prices because you don't know, because it's just you. And if they say no, now you feel bad. It's like you feel like you have to, work hard to try to get them back. But just talk to them. What I've learned is when I communicate with my customers, it's like when the pandemic hit, and everybody was like, "What do we do?" Well, the best scenario was they're scared too. Just go talk to them. And like Isaac, when you're starting a business, talk to somebody and you say, "Look, I'm really, really busy right now. My whole weekends are taken up mowing lawns. But so if I'm going to add you as a customer, I have to raise my price from whatever it is to whatever it is plus $10. And if you're on your website, right, and you're doing e-commerce, and you're so unique that this is the only place you can get what you sell, then it's okay to push the ball forward. Because it's not about the top line, it's about the bottom line. Great job, Isaac. Okay, one more question. Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers. Thank you for everything you do for IU, by the way. That's awesome. So I have a lot of Republican friends, especially some from IU. And the reason I ask them about why the Republicans, maybe some of them are still supporting Trump, some aren't, but they're Republicans because of fiscal policy. And a lot of their money is tied up in the market. So what should I say to them? A Trump market versus a Harris?
Well, just tell them to look at the numbers first, right?
What do you see down the road?
Right, so one of the things that people always talk about is an unrealized capital gains tax. And they'll always, I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. The unrealized capital gains was part of a proposal that was part of the 2024 budget, and it was never actually proposed. It's not going to be proposed. And so that's the first thing I always tell people. And I said this somewhere else, and I'll say it again. If for some reason during the Harris administration an unrealized capital gains tax was passed, I would work against Kamala to not have another term, because I think it's that bad. And I think she'll be the best president ever. But when it comes to business, and she gets that. We had that conversation. Her team gets that. That's why it's not been proposed. So I'm not worried in the least that that's why I can say that. But so one, you tell them unrealized capital gains tax is not going to happen. Two, you tell them, okay, she's talked about raising the rate for corporations. Well, here's a couple points. Remember I said that only 20,000 of 33 million companies were larger companies? Well, that's about the same number for people who are C Corps, right, that pay that tax. So 99.5% of companies are pass-through, so they pay the individual tax. And what does she say about anybody making $400,000 or less? It's the same or going down. So there's a good chance that if they're a small business, or they're investing in small businesses as investors, their rates are going down. And that's going to help them more. But wait, there's more. You got it. Just stability. Look at John Deere. John Deere was just minding its own business, and one day they woke up a couple weeks ago and Donald Trump was going to tariff them 200%. Now what he did say is their competitors that sell, right, that are only getting tariffed 10%. Chinese companies that they compete with that are only getting tariffed, 10 or 20, where other foreign companies are only getting tariffed 10 or 20%. So he made it so that their competition would have a lower price than John Deere. We don't need that. So as entrepreneurs, as investors, they'll appreciate that. Just stability matters. You don't want a president who wakes up and decides they're going to tweet at me, let's say, because I made him mad. Because when you're president, a lot of people will make you mad. So no capital gains tax on unearned income, right? For 99.5% of people, rates are going down. Tariffs, the other point I'll make is 28% tax rate versus 21%. 21% plus 20% tariffs. When you do your cost of goods and add it all up, which I've done, it's more expensive than paying a 28% rate. So the numbers are in Kamala's favor across the board. It's just people don't like to do the math. But the math is the math. 21% rate that he wants, plus a 20% across the board tariff or higher, it's cheaper with 28% from Kamala. So everybody, thank you so much. Remember, we have 16 days. And do this as an entrepreneur. Go out and find people and bring them to vote. It'll be the best thing you ever can do for your own bank account, because Kamala Harris will make you a whole lot richer than Donald Trump. Thank you, everybody.